Hello. Hopefully my audio is okay. If not, feel free to let me know at any time. Oh, thank you for the head pat, Draven. And hi, Kimono. Oh, I didn't hear the yippee go off. Early stream? Is it? Wait, did my sound alert not go off? Hold on. Fox went back today? Wait, really? No way? Oh yeah, I think ours is a little different. Oh my gosh, wait, there it is. Why is it so slow? Alright, well there it is. Oh yeah, oh, I see. Have you adjusted to the time then? Or did you... Let's see, if clocks go back 7 p.m., what it usually starts at 8. Oh, okay. Did you get to sleep in then? I only just realized it. I see. Okay, let me see. Red caps. We have strawberry milk candy, right? I'm pretty sure we got that. Audio sounds good, thank you. Mion-san! Your friend is here! I heard the housekeeper's voice. Our house and the front yard are huge, so unlike normal houses, ringing a doorbell, or yelling my name repeatedly, asking to play won't work. Okay, thank you. Who is it? Rika Furude-chama. Oh, finally! Can you tell Granny that Rika-chama is here? I think she's on the porch. I'll get the watermelon. Granny received many beautiful watermelons from somebody, so she wanted to share. I just called the Furude house a short time ago, and Rika-chan is here to pick one up. Did she come on her bicycle? I can't remember if it has a big enough basket. I pulled the watermelon from the well while thinking about that. The cold water in the well has refrigerated the watermelon, and the condensation makes it look delicious. The 3 members of the Furude family will enjoy it for at least 2 nights. Me? Am I supposed to take it home? I thought... What? Didn't your dad tell you? The priest answered the phone, and I thought I told him to come pick it up. Maybe I wasn't clear enough, or maybe he misunderstood me completely. But she's here to eat the watermelon, not take it home. Besides, the small basket on Rika-chan's bicycle won't hold the watermelon, and it's too dangerous for her to ride while holding it in her hands. Mion, why don't you help Rika-chama take the watermelon? There's no way she could ride her bicycle while carrying it. Meep. I can hold the watermelon. No, that's too dangerous. If something happened to you, I wouldn't know what to say to Oyashiro-sama. Mion will help you. Okay, I will. I'll go say hello to the priest, too. No matter whether she rides or pushes her bicycle, Rika-chan's hands will be occupied, so I'm going to carry the watermelon. The sky is turning auburn in the sunset. The cool breeze feels good on my sandaled feet. The plastic bag I'm carrying contains the watermelon and also some small bags of rock candy. If her mother finds them, she'll take them away, so we decided to eat them before we got to her home. We opened the bags and enjoyed the rock candy. Rika-chan isn't an exception. Whenever kids from our neighborhood come to our house for errands, Granny gives them some treats. Actually, that's a pretty common rule here in Hinamizawa. It's funny, but sometimes when parents aren't watching, siblings will fight over who gets to take the circular notice to the next house over. So these bags of rock candy are like tips for them. Of course, she doesn't normally give out this much. Usually it's just a little piece of it. Granny's being extra nice to Rika-chama. I feel bad getting all this candy. Don't worry, Granny loves you. You should just thank her and put a big smile on your face, that's all. Do you get lots of treats? I used to, but at this age they don't give me any. If they did though, I would probably feel I was being treated like a little kid. Meep. I'm being treated like a child then. That's okay. Enjoy it while you can. When you become as old as me, you won't get any even if you wanted some. As we talked about ordinary things, I noticed Rika-chan seemed a little sad. What's wrong?
Whenever I run errands, I get candy as a treat. But Satoko doesn't get any even if she comes with me.
I could think of so many reasons why. Not only Satoko, but everyone in the Hojo family is being treated poorly in Hinamizawa. And the Sonozaki family are the ones who instigated that. The 2 dam supporters have died in an accident already, but the malice against the Hojo family is still going. It's directed against Satoko and Satoshi, their children, and the aunt and uncle who are taking care of them. The big fight between the Hojo family and the Sonozaki family at the explanatory meeting started all this. But that was the Hojo couple, and it shouldn't have anything to do with the children and their aunt and uncle. But the idea that the Hojo family are traitors evolved on its own. Therefore, anyone bearing the Hojo name is to be treated poorly. The aunt and uncle weren't dam supporters, so over time, the attacks toward them should have stopped. But they're rather odd, and they keep having trouble with their neighbors. They don't follow the community rules, they don't do their community duties, and they spray pesticide while their neighbor's laundry is still hanging outside. Oh my gosh, scandalous! They often get into fights with the other villagers. They'd be hated even without the dam. Therefore, the Hojo family continues to be treated poorly. But none of that should have anything to do with Satoko and Satoshi. Satoko and Satoshi are often depressed at school. I tried to leave the conflict between the 2 families aside, but I wonder how they really feel about that. From their point of view, I'm just another member of the family that keeps harassing them. I don't want any of that at school. That's why I try to be their friend while we're there.
How can we get that to extend outside too, instead of staying in the school?
That'd be pretty difficult. The Hojo family made enemies of the 3 families. They were branded as traitors, and that's still considered the truth. It wouldn't mean anything if one person suggested an end to the hostilities just because the events around the dam are history now. On the contrary, that would just put them in the same position. Unfortunately for Satoko and Satoshi, the only thing they could do is to wait patiently until the issue withers away. All I could do for them is provide an oasis until that day comes.
So how long will they have to wait?
I don't know. The dam conflict lasted for several years. They were branded back then, so it might take years to clear up too.
Do you mean they won't be forgiven until they become adults? Will Satoko have to live out her childhood going through that?
That's pretty miserable, isn't it?
Me? We're their friends, aren't we?
Sure, they're my friends. We're all buddies.
Then isn't there something we can do to help our friends?
What exactly can we do? Even if the Sonozaki family declares that the dam conflict is over, so the Hojo family are no longer outcasts, that won't solve the problem. It's not that simple. In the first place, Granny hates the Hojo family and won't suffer their name to be mentioned in her presence. It's not a matter of someone forgiving another. It's a matter of very complicated ties between the people in this village. It's absolutely terrifying to have them as your enemies. Everyone knows that very well, and that's why they maintain good relationships with their neighbors. However, if you make enemies out of them, you'll have to face the consequences. That's the unwritten law of the Japanese community. And the Sonozaki family is a part of this unwritten law. Now that the Hojo family are outcasts, not even the Sonozaki family can overturn the situation.
So even if it is an issue of Hinamizawa, we can't do anything about it as Hinamizawa residents?
Unfortunately, that's probably so, yeah. If there's someone who can help Satoko, that person must be someone who has nothing to do with the village. But there's no one like that here.
Are you saying someone from the outside has to come help her?
Like Rika-chan says, would a knight in shining armor from the outside world ever come here? Would that person bring in a new wind in this village that has been filled with stale air for hundreds of years? No way. That's just wishful thinking. Time will solve the problem someday. Until then, I have to be their ally. I can't think of anything else I could do for them. As Rika-chan and I crunched on our rock candy, we can only pray that people will forgive Sadoko and her family sooner rather than later. Rika-chan gently broke the heavy silence.
I know.
Eh?
I know someone who has absolutely nothing to do with the village will come here from the outside.
That's right. The dam conflict is over, so it would be great if people moved into these lots that are for sale. Wouldn't it be fun if a family with a kid our age moved in?
He will come. I know. And we'll break this evil practice alongside him. That'll be the first key to one of the 3 locks that have us trapped in the past.
Eh? What's this? Are you talking about a novel or something? Rika-chan says some odd things sometimes. When she talks that way, she seems so mature. I even start to doubt she's really younger than I am. The unreasonable antagonism towards the Hojo family. Will there really be someone from the outside who will shatter our old traditions? Well, certainly. Okay, so we got rock candy and we got mentions of a lot for sale. Red capsule, watermelon, but we didn't get the Ryugu family yet. Time job, nope. Rock candy, but we don't have a detailed test result. What can we do? High fever, medicine, Queen Carrier results, first snag, but not Minister's grandson. Detailed test results, discontinuation, 3rd year, L5, death of Satoko's aunt, opportunist, death of... Eh? What? Wait a minute. Fragment from Satori Oroshi, Revenge of Miyotakano, Mikakushi, game board. Game board. Wait, what can we do? Ryugu families move, watermelon. Wait, what can we do? Rock candy. Detailed test result. Do we have the detailed test result? I don't think we do. We have the shopping trip, but we don't have the What? Rika's high fever. Wait a minute. I feel like it's gotta be one of these, but let me save because I'm scared. Okay. Save and load. We're gonna save here. And then connecting fragments. Or do I have to connect these? I don't think I do. I assume I was just looking at them. Red capsule. I don't think I have one. Yippee! Hi Gray, how are you? We don't have 4th year's curse. Is it this one? We have the watermelon, but we don't have the Ryugu rock candy. Is it this one? I'm so confused. I don't think we have the detailed test results. We're exhausted because I went across campus 600 times trying to print. Oh my gosh. Hopefully you're done now. Yikes. Okay, what happens if I click one of these? Let me see. I feel like I don't have to do that though. I guess we tried... Oh! We did have her... No, okay. Have you cracked any more? I just did. Wait, that's so weird. What do I... Oh? Wait. Because we just did this one. Okay, I can skip it then. Okay, so clicking the old ones won't do anything for me. What am I supposed to do then? Huh? What if we have to crack them? Maybe? The Ryuga family hasn't moved in yet. But we have the water. Do we have the capsule? I think we do. Yeah, no. Oh, shoot. Game board must be set up. Game board must be set up. Neo Takano's revenge. Keiichi Mai about changing schools. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. Main carrier must be willing to participate. I don't know. Satoshi's sister refuses. Okay. Research hits first snag. Instructions for kidnapping. Is it this? Oh, okay. Somehow we had the orders for the kidnapping. Alright. That very night, the head of the Furude family, the priest, gathered his wife and Rika together for a family meeting. I find a whole guide on the internet. It's okay. We'll consult it if we need it, but we got this for now. In Hinamizawa, it was tradition for the three families to gather and discuss the village's issues. So it was hardly unusual for big families like the Sonozaki family and the Kimiyoshi family to have meetings beforehand to sort out opinions among themselves. However, the Furude family had lost its branch families, so there were only 3 of them left. So until that day, they had never had a family meeting at all. What is it? You're being so formal. Is it about the dam construction? The dam was the most important issue in the village at the moment. The wife naturally assumed the priest wanted to talk about the dam. For him to gather all of them together like that, it must be a huge decision he had to make. Perhaps he was going to talk about joining the pro-evacuation camp. No, it's not about the dam, but it's about something extremely important which concerns this village, and perhaps all the ancestors of the village too. The Furude family had served in the priesthood of Oyashiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village, for generations. So for him, the head of the family, to start out that way, it must be something extremely important. Yet, he said it wasn't about the dam, so what could he want to talk about? I married into this family, so I want you and Rika, who carry the true blood of the Furude family, to listen very carefully. You two aren't normal human beings. That is a crazy thing to say.
I'm the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, right?
Rika, you shouldn't say such things. Dear, let's talk about things like that without her. She's heard enough nonsense from the elderly people at the village hall already. What she just said, about her being the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, that appears to be true. What? It's a rather long story. Please, just sit tight and listen to me. The wife had a dumbfounded expression on her face, not knowing what he was going to say, but Rika was completely relaxed, wearing her usual carefree expression. The priest started to talk after his wife calmed down. There's a disease in this village that has been here for many years. It's a special disease which only exists here in this area. Everyone who lives in this village has the disease. Not only the people who live here now, but all the people who ever lived here had the disease. What? But we're all perfectly healthy. I've never heard of a disease exclusive to this village. Calm down. As long as we're here in the village, the disease won't cause any problems. But once you move away from this village, that's when it starts to act out. Do you understand? How can you expect me to understand such a thing? I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's the same as the curse of Oyashiro-sama.
Rika said it so calmly while her mother became frustrated. I think Rika should have used her infinite lives to figure out the disease at age 8. Yeah. That's right. They say that when you leave this village, you're cursed. It's just like that. In other words, the curse of Oyashiro-sama, which our ancestors have feared for generations, is actually a disease that only exists in this village. How could that be possible? We've left the village before. Other villagers too. Some have gone on business trips, and some even traveled to foreign countries. True, but that's probably because the disease has weakened over a long time. So it was going to disappear eventually, but the business with the dam disrupted that process. Everyone knew that during the dam war, the entire village was aflame with agitation. Such excitement and emotional instability makes the disease stronger. I still don't know what you're trying to say. What we thought was a curse all this time was actually caused by the disease? That's right. All the rules Oyashiro-sama came up with were to protect the villagers from the disease. No way! Then Oyashiro-sama's actually a disease? Not a god? How could that be? How can I explain that to the Furude family ancestors? Calm down. The faith in Oyashiro-sama won't change. The fact that Oyashiro-sama is watching over Hinamizawa will remain the same. It just means the disease producing Oyashiro-sama's curse was in this village since long ago, that's all. I won't accept that. How can I explain that to our ancestors? This is a desecration of the Furude family's age-old traditions. No, this is a desecration of Oyashiro-sama. Who told you such a thing? This isn't acceptable. In the first place, can you prove such a disease actually exists? I can. What kind of proof? Who gave it to you? The people from the Ministry of Health and the National Institute of Infectious Disease Prevention. They've already found the pathogen and they're searching for a cure right now. I saw the documents and the samples last week. The people at the Ministry of Health call it Hinamizawa syndrome. No way. As long as you lead a normal life, the syndrome is harmless. But once you go far from Hinamizawa, or if you become emotionally unstable, it's easy for the disease to manifest itself. When the disease acts out, you could be possessed by your own delusions, and, in the worst case scenario, you could go mad. They discovered this disease during the war. A distinguished scholar noticed that only the soldiers from Hinamizawa came down with an abnormal disease, and he's been researching it all these years. They explained some details of the research, but I'm sorry. They're too complicated for me to explain. If you don't believe what I'm saying, why don't you go listen to them yourself? At first, I was indignant too, wondering how they dared to blaspheme Oyashiro-sama and spout such nonsense. The EDA clinic was built to study the syndrome. It appears to be just a clinic on the outside, but it's actually a secret research center for studying the syndrome. Secret research? That's ridiculous. If it's actually backed by the Ministry of Health, why aren't they doing it out in the open? Well, I guess they can't. For example, think about leprosy victims who were misunderstood and exiled. They're still misunderstood and discriminated against even today, in fact. If the whole country finds out about this and thinks that everyone in Hinamizawa who has contracted this weird disease can go mad at any moment, it'll turn into chaos. The Ministry of Health has taken that into consideration and is working on developing a cure while keeping the disease a secret. Don't get me wrong, though. They aren't trying to put us on display or anything. They're trying to eliminate this disease and free this village from it. It was a different story long ago when we supported ourselves, but nowadays it's impossible not to leave this village. If a simple act of leaving the village can trigger the disease, you realize how dangerous it is for the villagers, right? I'm repeating myself now, but in the recent dam protests, the whole village entered a strong excited state, which is very bad for the Hinamizawa syndrome.
If some villagers go crazy and do something horrible, it'll be all over the media.
That's right. If that happens, it'll be too late. But how can I believe this? Are you sure we're dealing with people from the government? Are you sure you aren't being tricked? I don't blame you for not being able to believe it. They say we can come take a look at the facility any time. I've seen it before, and I know that no mere fraud could have set up something like that. Even the big hospitals in Gogura don't have such large-scale equipment. If you can't believe what I just told you, you should go to the research center yourself and ask questions. They can explain it better than I can. They said that if their explanation isn't good enough, then they can explain it to you at the National Research Institute in Tokyo, or even at the Ministry of Health's main office. Whether I believe it or not, how are we related to that? It's said that the Furude family inherited the blood of Oyashiro-sama. It's also said that if a girl was born for 8 continuous generations, That 8th generation girl would be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama.
Beep.
That's right. I'm the 7th, and Rika is the 8th generation. But what does that have to do with the disease? This Hinamizawa syndrome is caused by a type of parasite. Although they're very tiny, you can't even see them with the naked eye. They say there's a sort of leader amongst these parasites. Are you saying that's the Furude family? It appears that the leader of these parasites is passed down through the generations only by people with a direct bloodline to the Furude family. In other words, in the previous generation, it was you, and now it's Rika.
Meep.
That's ridiculous! That's absolutely ridiculous! Why would it be something as disgusting as parasites in the first place? What a lore drop, I know this is crazy. Calm down. I'm not good at explaining things. Please have the experts explain it to you. According to them, studying this parasite leader is necessary in order to research the disease. No! I won't have anything to do with such a suspicious research, and Rika won't either. I'm telling you to calm down. They think that Hinamizawa syndrome acts out when separated from the parasite leader, not the village itself. When you were What? When you were little, do you remember villagers telling you that you had psychic powers? You were able to cure elderly people who got migraines after taking a long trip. That's the proof that you were carrying the parasite leader. The Furude bloodline has the power to cure people with the disease. To discover a cure, it's extremely important that we participate in their research.
If they study me, will the villagers be saved?
That's what they say.
And all the villagers are infected? Me? Everyone else? Sadoko too?
Yes. Not only the people who live in the village, but their relatives in Okinomiya too. We're talking thousands of people. That's why the Ministry of Health spends so much money to build a specialized research center. I object! How could you let Rika be a sacrifice for something that suspicious?
I don't mind. If Sadoko can be saved, I don't mind being a sacrifice. I really don't.
You be quiet, Rika. I absolutely refuse. I'll go and talk to them and refuse them directly. I won't let them kill Rika in some crazy experiment. Besides, Rika's the one and only heir of the Furude family. What if something happens to her? The Furude family will die right there. Don't you see that? You need to think more about our family. That's why the villagers called you an opportunist. After all, don't you think it's odd? The Ministry of Construction is trying to submerge the village, and the Ministry of Health is trying to cure a disease. What in the world is going on? The Ministry of Health has warned that this disease could be triggered by a change in environment, so they're actually trying to have the Ministry of Construction stop the dam construction plan. You really should go to the research center. Why would they build such a huge facility in a location that could be submerged? Rika let out a big yawn. It was long past bedtime for a little girl like her.
I'm going to bed now. Dad, please let them know I'm willing to participate, okay?
Rika! You can't make such a decision without consulting me. It's all a ploy, it is. Rika! Wait! Rika! Her mom angry. Whoa, that's the first time I heard, like, bird sounds. That was weird. Okay, we have the Queen Carrier must be willing to participate. When researching Hinamizawa syndrome, there is something very important that needs to be discussed first. If something happens to the Queen Carrier, not the villagers. Well, technically, but the village will collapse. Cute. In his article, my grandfather called it the most dangerous situation. According to my grandfather, if the Queen Carrier dies, all the infected persons will go terminal within 48 hours. Rika is a bee, exactly. This may sound unbelievable at first, but research on the collapse of past local religions and group suicides around the world should indicate that there's some truth to it. Among all the mysterious incidents around the world, there are some that were caused by parasites controlling entire communities, very similar to Hinamizawa syndrome. No, you. Grandfather picked a few cases that are very similar to the syndrome and investigated them. As a result, he confirmed multiple cases of entire communities losing their minds after the death of a religious leader or founder and finally annihilating themselves. He stated that, on average, it happened within 48 hours. It's clear that infected people are affected by the Queen Carrier, and their condition of the Queen Carrier is in fact affecting the entire village. Our statistics already prove that on weeks Rika felt sick and visited the clinic, we saw an exceptionally high number of visitors. Rika being sick with a simple cold had a massive impact. If something particularly bad happened to her, we'd be facing a serious situation within 48 hours. That is why the Idia Institute has to protect Rika Furude, the Queen Carrier. It's the most important mission of the Hinamizawa Syndrome research project. How did Takano go from this to let's murder Rika? What? She's already agreed to help us in our research, but we have to be very careful not to put her in any danger. Also, we have to protect her from anyone who would try to harm her. Her life is equal to the lives of 2,000 villagers. But what if something happens to her by accident? Yeah, that's odd. I know, like what's going on? The Idia Institute must prepare for that situation. That's why I worked on the draft of an emergency manual when the Idia Institute was first established. It's a precaution in case the Queen Carrier dies, or if infected people show acute symptoms due to the death of the Queen Carrier. This is an emergency procedure which must be followed within 48 hours of the mass occurrence of the acute symptoms. Maybe she gets infected? That's what I'm thinking. That would make sense. The final measure is to prevent the damage from spreading to nearby areas. The plan uses gas, making it look like a natural disaster. My client, the Alphabet Project, took the responsibility of working out the details of the plan. They are used to dealing with things like nuclear and biological weapons, so they ended up being such a big help. There's no way I could have come up with a plan on my own to execute 2,000 villagers. Through a dummy company, the Ground SDF has secured a closed quarry in the Yagauchi region, upstream of Hinamizawa. It's to be the secret storage base for the equipment we'd use in that operation. Equipment that sprays deadly gas that kills people as if they were falling asleep is stored here. In case of an emergency, a special unit of the Ground SDF is to use this equipment to destroy the village. However, preparing for the execution of the villagers itself is politically dangerous. So if I'm going to insist on them getting the equipment ready, I have to make them understand how dangerous Hinamizawa Syndrome is, and also how urgent the need is to have a contingency plan. I have to prove the need for the plan by showing them enough data. So the files my grandfather kept intact come in quite handy. When the clients read my grandfather's articles about the syndrome, they were surprised to see how catastrophic things could be in the worst-case scenario. In other words, if something happens to this girl, the Queen Carrier, all 2,000 of the villagers will become deranged. Is that what you're saying? Yes. There have been several cases similar to Hinamizawa Syndrome where group suicides took place. In the case of the syndrome, we can easily expect extreme defensive behavior which results from deep paranoia. The result may affect all 2,000 plus carriers. From there on, we may face abnormal situations involving lawless violence and bizarre religious despondence. We must be ready to face such a situation by having a contingency plan. Otherwise, we'll draw attention from the rest of the world. You don't think you're gonna draw attention by killing off an entire village, though? We have to remember that we only have 48 hours to respond once it happens. Are you saying that if it happens, there's nothing anyone can do? Can't you treat everyone within 48 hours? That'll be impossible. We don't even have a cure, and the research center isn't capable of taking in all the villagers. How frightening to realize such a disease actually exists. The world is full of mysteries. Constant vigilance against worst-case scenarios support our national defense, and it's one of the ideas behind the Alphabet Project. Besides, our goal is not to use the plan, but it's vital to be prepared. Indeed. Precisely as you say. I'd still like to look into strengthening the rules of approval authority behind applying the plan, but I understand the necessity to prepare our response for a worst-case scenario. Let's have the urban suppression research team run a simulation of Hinamizawa suppression operation in the region. I think we should get it going as soon as possible. It's possible that the Queen Carrier girl might be hit by a car and killed at any moment. Thank you, Major Takano. We have further questions, so you can sit down. Thanks to a push from one of my backers, things were decided without too much of a problem. It took me almost all day to explain it to them, but it only took a short amount of time to come to a decision. Nobody criticized, ridiculed, or tried to reject my grandfather's articles out of hand. In the files they're all reading today are the very same shameful articles those haughty authorities left their footprints on as they trampled them in my grandfather's heart. But they aren't ridiculing the articles. They're reading what was once rejected. It's nothing big at a glance, but in this moment, my grandfather's research is being recognized for the first time. My heart is filled with satisfaction to see people discussing amongst each other while pointing to my grandfather's files and raising them as proof. I've worked so hard for this day. Grandpa in heaven, can you see this? Okay, so he's dead. Which I think is another thing unlocked. Execution order. Bad. Research. Where is the thing? Opportunist. Rika's mother's suspicion. Oh, wait. I think we could do that one. Yeah, maybe we could do this one. But fine. Death of Koizumi-sensei. Okay. What? She literally said, Grandpa in heaven, what do you mean he's not dead? That's crazy. Shinto priest contacting the institution. Okay. The gathering place inside of the Furude Shrine is in fact the headquarters of the Onigafuchi Guardians. Normally, a shrine should be a calm and quiet place, but there are anti-dam signs everywhere, making it very obvious what this location has become. There are over 30 members of the Guardians here at the moment, and they are having a heated conversation about their plans for the future. Although this meeting place is on the Furude family's property, it's a community facility, so it closes at 9 p.m. Of course, sometimes a discussion gets so heated that it goes on past closing time, but meetings are supposed to end by 9. If a discussion ends early, they usually chit-chat until that time. That's what usually happens. Of course, they mostly talk about the dam even when they chit-chat. They talk about someone's mistreatment at the government office, or someone getting arrested unjustly, or they complain that the people at the dam construction site are too violent. Since it's idle chatter, the topics are slightly emotional, and because of that, there was a good deal of bad-mouthing the Hojos. Then she threw the circulation notes away. Can you believe that? That woman is crazy. Just the other day, she got into a huge argument with Makino-san's grandmother at the trash pickup. You know, the husband is rude too. He's so irrational. Did you see him at the explanatory meeting? That was bad, huh? I can't believe they're still here. I wish they'd just leave. He said something about money. He has absolutely no shame. No. If you talk about being irrational, his wife is the same or even worse. It must be hereditary. I see their daughter shopping quite often, so I used to say hello to her, but she never replied. Can you believe that? So I got tired of it, and I don't say anything to her anymore. Hey, their son always looks so depressed, doesn't he? By now, the Hojo family has become the enemy of the whole village. Bad-mouthing the Hojo family was the greatest shared topic that anyone could easily contribute to. If he had known how powerful the three families were, especially the Sonozaki family, and if he had known Oryo-san's character, he wouldn't have said the things he did. The Hojo couple are residents here. Though they were never very enthusiastic about the council activities, they should have known what kind of person Oryo-san is. He could have imagined just what would happen to him if he talked to her that way. Yet he let his anger take over and voiced his unpleasant feelings. So most people think the Hojo family brought their isolation upon themselves. If they wanted to negotiate with the government regarding the move, they should have done so privately. Yet he was foolish enough to express himself at a public gathering like that. So not too many sympathize with the Hojo family. Ever since the big fight at the explanatory meeting, the Sonozaki family has looked at the Hojo family as their enemy and started to go after them. That caused the other pro-dam families to go quiet, fearing they'd be made into scapegoats too, and those who wanted to leave were bitterly forced to give up. Even those people started criticizing the Hojo couple, saying that they've gotten their compensation to leave if the two... they could have gotten their compensation to leave if the two hadn't picked that reckless fight. Both the anti-dam and pro-dam people hate the Hojos now, and the family has become even more isolated. Moreover, the Hojos are both very aggressive. They should have stayed quiet, at least until things settled down, but they didn't. That alienated the handful of people who took pity on them as well, so now nobody even says anything to them. All of that was immediately obvious by listening to the foul talk here and there at the gathering place. Rika always helps out by putting the teacups away, so I'm sure she hears what they say as well. One of the Hojo family members they're bad-mouthing is Rika's friend, Satoko-chan. It hurts to think about what Rika feels while hearing that. As priest of the Furude Shrine, should I let this continue? Oyashiro-sama is a god who makes peace between enemies. When the humans and demons fought, Oyashiro-sama descended from heaven and mediated between both sides. As the caretaker of the shrine, I must do something before it goes too far. I'm sitting next to Oryo-san, who is spitefully disparaging the Hojo family.
So that guy was talking bad to me. Who the hell cares? He'll be cursed by Oyashiro-sama, that's for sure.
The elderly people cheer her on as they listen to her speak. If I barge in now, I have a feeling it won't be a peaceful conversation, but I have to make up my mind. As the priest of the Furude Shrine, and also for the sake of Rika's friend, Satoko-chan. Oryo-san, don't you think you've said enough by now?
Huh? What the hell are you trying to tell me?
Well, I'm sure Hojo-san really didn't mean what he said. Isn't it a bit much for this kind of treatment to go on for so long?
Shut up! You heard what he said, didn't you? Weren't you pissed? He pissed me off! Crap!
Oryo-san is the head of the Sonozaki family, the heir to the demons. She never forgives anyone who stands against her, so there's no way she would ever listen to what I'm trying to say. Oryo-san and the others became furious and refused to listen to me. I also mentioned that the dam construction plan would be cancelled soon, so they should calm down already. I said that because the staff at the Irie clinic told me that the government is putting some kind of pressure on the Ministry of Construction. But thinking that I'm being an opportunist, soon criticism of me began to circulate the room. After that, I realized that I've become branded as a fence-sitter. If the demons are willing to listen, then there's a chance to make peace. But how can I make peace with people who refuse to listen? I destroyed their mood, so I just have to give up and shut my mouth. Then I felt a little hand on my back. Rika, it's getting late. Why don't you go home?
No matter how hard we try, we can't reach them.
Rika looked into the distance while she spoke.
The evil of this corrupted village is probably beyond the means of those of us living in that muck. But I won't lose hope. Surely, someone who will destroy this stagnation will arrive. Very soon. I know.
Her eyes shone as if seeing a future that only the maiden of the Furude Shrine could see. Rika's dad seems like such a nice guy. Feels bad that he died. Okay, I think now we could do the one that I cracked earlier. Which one? Repetitive apologies. Aha! What? He was literally branded as a... Rika's mother's suspicion is also there. What do you... What do they want from me? Okay. Research, execution order, repetitive apologies, death of Koizumi-sensei, prior consent. Oh? The lore confuses us all. True. Rock candy, test results. What? Okay. What? Detailed test. Idiot's decision. Dissection plan. Motive to become. We have motive to become a doctor, but we're not dissecting Satoko. Research is going well. Research. Okay. Results of the research. Truth about the Shirakawa Park incident. I don't think we have either of those. Execution order. Ooh, she hasn't come up at all. So that can't be it. Prior collection. Okay. Koizumi-sensei's death. Shavu. Okay, we have draft of an emergency manual, but I don't think we have any of the other stuff. Oh, just detailed. What? Okay. Let's see. Depression of a Shinto priest. Ojo siblings. His background. I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. Who? So we don't have that. Oh, but that's the distrust of the mother of the queen. Okay. Requesting assistance at the quarry. Dam construction operation withdrawal. I can't believe we haven't done any of these yet. That was in. Queen carrier willing to participate, but we don't have the dissection. We don't have the tragedy at the construction site. I don't know what we're supposed to do here. What? Credit of apologies. Prior consent for the collection of... Is it this? I don't know. Oh, okay. He hasn't died yet. High fever. I mean, they mentioned the fever, but yeah, okay. Completion of the medicine. I don't think they completed it yet. Bottle of wine for a toast. Tomitake's promised. Part-time job. Rena hasn't even come out yet. How is this? Red watermelon from the Sonozaki family we have. I guess we'll just click the ones that I think we could do. Okay. Results. Oh wait, we haven't done the Shirakawa Park at all. I'm so lost. Footsteps, rock candy. Move families move. This? Nope. Why is he not dead? Why is he not dead? He's dead, but he's not dead? Research is going well. Dose experiment. I think we have that though. Yeah, okay. I am very confused. Alright, I think it's time for a guide. I genuinely don't know. Higurashi Matsuribayashi fragments. Fragment. Okay. Requesting assistance from Queen. A murder with dismembered body. Repetitive apologies. What? We could suddenly do this now? When did we get the oh. Guide EA, literally. Crap. Dang it. Crap. Manager. Come on. Say something. Manager. You idiot. He's dead already. Clang. A loud noise snapped everyone out of it. Someone dropped the shovel he was holding. The shovel was smeared with reddish-black blood. No, not just the shovel. All 6 construction workers' clothes were blood-soaked too. One of them cried out to the silent dead body of the manager, which was drenched in blood. Manager? Oh! Shut up! He's already dead! It was self-defense, right? Self-defense. The fight had started after the manager yelled at them for drinking beer inside the office. There were no drinking and no smoking signs everywhere. The manager harshly scolded anyone who broke that rule, so it was the 6 workers' fault for disobeying. But they drank because they were stressed out by the anti-dam protesters. That's why they said things to provoke the manager. They told him to step out, and the others went along. The construction workers toiled hard and long hours. That's why they instigated the fight with the manager, to release their stress. They'd expected to just curse at each other, or to end up in a wrestling match. But things escalated. Or to put it more accurately, the manager exploded all of a sudden. The manager had to deal with the residents' protests as well, so he was under just as much pressure, or maybe even more. But how he changed was not normal. The manager was calm at first, but he gradually became more aggressive, and it was like he transformed into someone completely different. No, it was like he was possessed by something evil. The men who instigated the fight sobered up when they saw his behavior. Then, the manager picked up a shovel that was nearby and tried to smash his opponent's head in with it. He managed to avoid the hit, but if he didn't, his head would have been surely split open. The manager kept pounding on him with the shovel, even as he frantically tried to avoid the hits. By this time, the workers had realized that this was beyond a simple fight, so they tried to hold the manager down. But the manager turned on them with the shovel too. One of the men tried to protect himself by crossing his arms above his head, but there was no way that he could have blocked a shovel swung with such force. Blood spurted out and the man groaned in pain. By this time, the 6 men had realized that the manager was not his usual self. This manager would try to bash in their brains without hesitation. Since their opponent was using a shovel as his weapon, they had to find some kind of weapon too. One of them grabbed a huge hammer. Then the others realized that they needed to find something as well. To restrain the manager in that condition, it was better to arm themselves. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Ugh. It didn't take that long for the madness to infect the 6 workers. It was only a matter of time before they went from restraining him to lynching him. By the time they realized what had happened, the manager was already a lump of meat. His face was swollen, shreds of skin had been torn off, and his muscles and skull were visible too. Obviously, he was quite dead. Frat! He almost killed us, remember? If he hadn't attacked us, we wouldn't have fought him, right? The leader of the 6, the one who instigated the fight, tried to bring the rest to his side, but nobody replied. And so, the leader became frustrated. He was the one who started the fight. The rest simply joined in. He was the main perpetrator. Maybe that was why he was feeling so exasperated. He sensed that he was the one at fault. Don't just stand there like a limp noodle. It's too late. We killed him and there's nothing we could do about it. We're all murderers now. Buck up. You ain't thinking about turning yourself in and doing time, are you? Frick you. I can't go to the slammer at my age. We're hiding it. We're hiding this corpse and pretending nothing happened. Some of them knew he was on probation for an assault incident once before, so if he got into trouble with the law again, the punishment would be more severe than they could imagine. That was why he was trying desperately to find a way out. If he was alone with the manager's body, then he wouldn't have behaved this way. All he would have to do was to hide the manager's body and pretend nothing happened. But there were 6 of them, including him. They were partners in crime and witnesses too. If even one of them turned himself in out of guilt, he'd be in big trouble. But even if we hide the body, they'll find out sooner or later. Instead, we should just plead justifiable self-defense, and they might end up pardoning us. Don't be so stupid! Look at what we've done! Look at his face! Who would think this is the result of self-defense? His parents wouldn't even be able to identify him in this condition, you idiot! But even if we hide it, everyone's going to find out tomorrow morning when the manager doesn't show. It's hopeless. What's hopeless is your brain! He slapped the other man in the face. The leader had such an evil look in his eyes. Listen well, idiots. We're all murderers, okay? Keep gripping now, and we'll all get slammed with 5 or 6 years. Just one of you here try and blab. We'll all be locked up. Don't underestimate the pen. If you're prepared to be caught anyway, then run like your life depends on it. You can resign yourself to it later when it's time to play the piper. Pay the piper, not play the piper. What? His visage turned more and more demonic. It was the same expression the manager had just a few minutes before. Was he possessed by the same thing that possessed the manager? The 5 men started to think that way. Now that they considered it, all the villagers in the anti-dam protest had the same expression on their faces too. The real name of Hinamizawa was Onikafuchi Village. People said that wicked demons lived there, and sometimes they possessed people. The men couldn't help but to recall that exaggerated story often told by the demonstrators. The manager swung the shovel after his expression changed to the demonic one. There was no guarantee that this man wouldn't do the same. In fact, he was still squeezing the hammer in his hand, glaring at everyone and threatening them. If someone suggested surrendering, he'd probably smash their head in with it. I know. To make sure nobody betrays the rest, I have an idea. It'll make it easier to hide the body, too. What is it? We're gonna cut up the body into 6 pieces. What? They all wanted to object to the idea. Killing him was a serious crime itself. Dismembering the body would be too much. But if anyone objected, he'd be killed on the spot. Yeah, they're desecrating him now. That's crazy. So no one said anything. We'll all cut him up together. Remember what the manager used to say? Teamwork. We're all in this together. We'll each take a body part and hide it responsibly. What do you think, huh? This way, we're all equally guilty, right? I won't let anyone give themselves up. The 5 men were all taken in by his ghastly face, and they could even feel the fear of the Onikafuchi demons creep up their backs. That's crazy. Okay. So we have Death 1 now. Tragedy at the construction site, but I don't think we have a live specimen. Hospitalization of Satoko. What else? Surge, bat, fever, medicine. Aha! The old guy. I don't know what to say. I want to say something, but I can't think of the right words. I can only sigh. Ah. Oh, Ishii-san. I've been looking for you. The section manager asked me about the wanted poster. Be quiet! This is a place of rest. As Kumagai barged into the room, the old coroner quickly snapped back at him. Sorry. The section manager asked me about the wanted poster for the suspect. Can you talk to Komiyama-kun about that? I need to speak to the coroner here. Could you tell him I'll be right over? Okay. Kumagai ran out of the autopsy room with the same haste he entered in. Lively, isn't he? This old man would have slapped him for making such a fuss. You probably should go back too. The air in here isn't for people who aren't used to it. Right. If I slack off too long, I might get slapped as well. Here in Shishibone, all the hoodlums cross the street when you pass through, yet he's the only one, past or future, who's ever punched you for splitting your sumo wrong. Really was a merciless man. I think he punched me more than my real father. Okay. Doesn't matter if he was your real one or not. If you looked up to him in the same way, then he really was a father to you. My real father passed away in Nagoya. He was unlucky. If he wasn't given the order to move to a plant in Nagoya, he wouldn't have died in an air raid. If he could have rode it out another half year or so, then the war would have been over. I was sad, of course, but I was grown up enough by then that I didn't cry into the ground like my mother did. But people feel sadness in different ways. For some people, it comes all at once as an overwhelming wave, but others feel sadness gradually over a long period of time. I think I was the latter. When he was alive, I only thought of him as annoying. In my mind, I even cursed him with the questions about why he avoided the draft, and I thought my feelings towards him would always be the same. Then the war ended. As I saw families and friends being reunited with joy as they came from the front, it finally happened. I grieved for my father's death. Japan was filled with people who were sad and full of despair. I knew I wasn't the only one whose life ended up that way. But I remember I was very, very heartbroken. After the war, the nation changed completely. As a policeman, the environment I worked in went through sudden changes too. In order to forget my sorrow, the only thing I could do was devote myself to my work. At the time, I was in charge of busting people for buying rice illegally. I conducted spot checks on travelers at major train stations, and boy did I find a lot of them. There was a fairly big black market in Gokura, and a lot of people came from as far as Osaka to buy it. Bullying rice, exactly. Big brain. After the war, Japan faced a chronic shortage in food supply. To those ends, the nation instituted a food rationing program by signing the Food Control Act. But the rations the government provided weren't even close to being enough to feed families. Therefore, people had no choice other than buying food and supplies on the black market. The government hardly had enough food for rations, but there were somehow plenty on the black market. The dealers there sold it at outrageous prices, and some of them became quite wealthy. The Sonozaki family made their money through that black market, but that's another story. The government didn't bother arresting these dealers, for, with their money, they were able to buy off the top members of the police department. Instead, they decided to go after the people buying the goods, and even confiscated the rice they bought by selling everything they owned. Yeah, I remember that. Wasn't there a prosecutor who starved himself to death? Yeah, there was. The prosecutor who vowed not to eat illegal rice starved to death. Wasn't it in 1947? That was horrible. He, a public prosecutor, proved it himself that people couldn't survive by adhering to the law. That prosecutor had grown tired of the government charging people with doing whatever they could to survive. And he proclaimed that he was never going to buy black market rice again. In 1947, he starved to death when he was only in his mid-30s. The law prohibited people from buying black market rice, but that was the only way to survive. Fun fact, so much wheat had been stored in the Philippines because America thought the war would last longer, so the excess was sold to Japan and that helped start the instant noodles industry. Oh, interesting. In that case, was the Food Control Act a bad law itself? The death of the prosecutor was seen as a desperate message to the government about the unjustness of that law. Rounded up people with bags of rice and lined them up at the temporary inspection point next to the station. It was like a military tribunal. They inspected their bags and confiscated everything that they bought at the black market. The women all cried. They sold everything they owned to buy the rice. They pleaded that if we confiscated the rice, how would they feed their starving children? It doesn't make sense, huh? Yet they forbade you from going after the sellers, so it was absolutely unfair from the view of the people. Everyone was on edge. If they heard a police inspection was set up at the next station, they'd jump off the train and run. We were aware of these people, so we set up several officers near jump-off spots in order to capture them. Yeah, that is cool. Instant noodle is peak, true. I remember chasing after women carrying several kilos of rice on them. That was when I first met the old man. Man, I was surprised. Remember my father? He looked exactly like him. I really thought that maybe my father had miraculously survived the air raid in Nagoya. I was chasing a man who was running away from the inspection point. There was no way for him to run with a heavy bag of rice on him, so he'd either get arrested with the illegal rice, or escape by ditching the rice that he'd bought by selling all of his belongings. In other words, if a person is being chased by the police, that person can't provide his family any rice to eat. Of course, I felt guilty about that. I knew people had to buy the rice to survive, so we had a tacit agreement to let those who ditched the rice and ran get away. So I always thought the same thing as I chased them. Please throw it away. Staple crop, my beloved, indeed. I didn't want to catch him, because I didn't want to hear him crying and pleading in distress. It was then that the old man showed up. He looked exactly like my dead father. I was dumbfounded. Then, all of a sudden, he punched me in the head. If a father disciplines you, as a child, you lower your head in apology. I was so happy to see my father alive that I couldn't hold my joy in. The old man said, "Let him go." When I heard his voice, I realized that he wasn't my father, so I thought I'd arrest him for assaulting a policeman. But a young man like me, who had barely grown any hairs yet, was no match for an older man used to fighting. Yeah, he sure taught me a lesson. He gave me a good scolding in the middle of the street after I was all beat up. Who would even listen to him, right? But something struck me then. I kept seeing my father in him. All I could do was listen. Yeah, he was a ruffian, but he showed his guts like a real man. That's what made him such a great guy. You don't see men like him nowadays. He was a true example of a man from the good old times. Despite my age, I still needed a father. I needed someone to look up to and show me what makes a man a man. When I think about it, I really did have two fathers. The old man was a father, a brother, and my best friend. But now, here he lies with his head, body, and arms, and legs all dismembered, and his right arm hasn't been found. He taught me how to be a man, how to enjoy alcohol, how to play mahjong, and with that right arm, he gave me a good beating when I did something wrong. That right arm is still missing. Do you have any suspects? Yeah, of course. I swear, I'll find the old man's right arm and pay them back for what they've done to him. They're running Hinamizawa from the shadows and inciting this collective crime they call the dam protests. The Sonozaki family. I declare war within myself. I already know who my enemy is. Oh, he's so wrong. Oh no. And now we have Oishi's revenge, if I can find it. So many cracks don't look. Okay, wait. We have declaration of war, but I don't think we have an execution order. Let's see. Hospitalization of Satoko. Third year's curse. That's Rika's parents. I love how expressive this model is. It's cute. I know, it's so cute. This feels like the final part. It is. We have quite a bit to go. I don't know what I'm doing next. Where are we? I don't think any of these back here. Yeah. What? L5 station, or L5 stage patient. Third year's curse. Hospitalization of Satoko. How do I get that? Live specimen, tragedy. Do we have a live specimen? I don't think we do. Responsibility, distrust of the mother and queen. Execution order for third year's curse. Prior consent, Koizumi sensei. His promise. Satoko's test results. How do we get Satoko into the hospital? We need to get her into the hospital somehow. Is it this thing? Ah. I was half asleep, so I didn't even notice the phone ringing nearby. After a while, I finally realized the phone was ringing. And a ringing phone means there's some kind of an emergency. It's 2 in the morning. Who would even call me at this time of night? Hello, this is Irie. I'm sorry to bother you, Dr. Irie. It's Takano-san. She's never called me for a personal reason. At the Institute, she's ranked just below me, so she's basically responsible for running it. So for her to call me this late at night, It must be an emergency. Sorry it took me so long. Is it true that we have another terminal patient? Yes. I was hoping to find a living specimen, so this is perfect. I initially thought that she'd abducted someone. The man had already been moved to the research area in the clinic's basement. Having been tied down to the examination table, he's struggling against his restraints, but more as though he's deranged than actually resisting. I can't even understand what he's saying. He sounds angry, sorrowful, and like a child throwing a tantrum all at once. It's obvious that he's not in the right state of mind. Anyway, let's put him under anesthesia. He might kill himself otherwise. I wanted to observe him a little longer, but I guess I have no choice. One of the staff with a white gown got the anesthesia ready. Even a normal person would struggle to escape a restraining table in this suspicious room. But this man's behavior is at an abnormal level. I'm sure Okonogi-san and his friends from the Mountain Dogs are the ones who captured him. Capturing a man in this state of mind couldn't have been an easy task. According to Takano, she ran into this patient on her way home from the clinic by accident. She brought him back here, tested him, and the result came back positive. Of course, I have no intention of just believing what she's telling me. But there's no question that this man is at the terminal stage, and a live specimen is exactly what we need to research the syndrome. Who is this man anyway? He has something wrapped in newspaper. What do you think was in it? Ugh. What is this? There's something wrapped in a bloody newspaper on a tray nearby. Looking at the blood-drenched paper, I can only imagine that there's something gruesome inside of it. Yet Takano-san looked like she wanted to surprise me with something interesting. Oh. God, this is awful. It's a bloody right arm. The man on the table still has his. This right arm doesn't belong to him. So who does it belong to? I'm used to looking at things like this as a doctor, but the horrible cross-section makes me want to look away. It wasn't done according to a medically acceptable method, that's for sure. It was obviously done out of cruelty. Judging by the situation, we can assume that this man cut off this arm. So he's the culprit behind the body dumping that's been occurring in the neighborhood. At that point, there was no way of knowing who the right arm belonged to. But the next morning, the dismemberment murder of the dam construction site director was reported, and they mentioned that his right arm was still missing, so we learned who the arm belonged to. This man has a criminal record, and he's on probation. Yet he committed another crime. I bet he dismantled the body in order to hide it. I'm sure it depends on the circumstances, but he'll get more than just a few years in prison. So you won't hesitate to dissect a scumbag like him, right? Who knows? Maybe he was a scumbag before and became violent due to the syndrome. Or maybe he had gone straight, but become violent again due to the syndrome. The former is one thing, but if it's the latter case, then it's not his fault. That's why Hinamizawa syndrome is so terrifying. You can't tell if the syndrome is the cause of the crime, or if it's simply a problem of a human nature. But what causes a defect of human nature in the first place? That was precisely Idia's idea of research. Hate the crime, not the criminal. Can criminals only be corrected by punishing them with imprisonment? If a person commits a crime because of a mental disorder, but then gets treatment, he is corrected. In other words, there are no crimes in this world, only patients awaiting treatment without anyone else being able to understand them. In medieval times, patients with mental disorders were said to be possessed by demons, and they were either confined or killed. Centuries after, they were finally acknowledged as mentally ill people who needed treatment. Perception can change with time, and even if they're called criminals now, maybe after several centuries, those criminals will be acknowledged as patients who are entitled to appropriate treatment. Explaining crimes through illness instead of malice. That's my life's work. Hinamizawa syndrome is a strange disease that can support my theory. Solving its mysteries is extremely important to me. To solve those mysteries, I need a medical sacrifice. It's an extremely sinful thing to do, but there's no way to unravel this without it. The Idia Institute was authorized to take such drastic measures if necessary. That's why I was asked about it so many times when I accepted the position of director. And finally, the opportunity is here. This will be the first step of our research on this strange disease. But even now, I'm a little hesitant. I've opened up human bodies in many surgeries, What I'll be doing on this man is something very similar, but there's also something that's very different. What I did before was a part of treatment. I did it to save the patient's lives. I did it so that the patients could have a better future. But what I'm trying to do here isn't treatment. He will die at the end of it. His death will be far from humane. I'm going to violate nature and force him to stay alive while I open up his living brain. Director EDA, are you listening? Sorry. Could you repeat that? I believe it's best that we submit the dissection proposal to Tokyo and request their assistance. He's not only alive, he's also in the terminal stage, so he's an extremely important specimen. We must conduct the dissection very carefully. That's true. You're right. Let's do as you say. I think we'll have a few days before the dissection, so I want to run some reaction tests once he's off the anesthetic. Do you think that's safe? Even if he's restrained, we don't know what'll happen. We finally have the opportunity to test a live specimen. We can't only look into his brain. Takano-san's unusual cheerfulness made me feel odd. Maybe her reaction is normal. Maybe I'm the one who's not reacting normally in this situation. I'm only here for the research, so I should be excited to have the opportunity to perform our first live dissection. I'm still hesitant. How can I call myself a researcher? Researchers of the past were brave enough to cross the line, and that's how they accomplished many things. I've seen many brains. I've operated on them. I've lost some patients too. But I never thought anything of it because I knew I did the right thing. Even when my hard work was denied afterwards. If it pained me to think of that, then I just needed to advance the field of medicine to ensure their deaths weren't wasted. That is the true form of those advancing the field of medicine. Yet, why was my heart being tormented so much just by changing the name from treatment to dissection? Does it mean I'm not man enough to emulate those great men of the past who opened the doors to new medicine? That I don't have the power to develop new advances myself? Hey, what's the matter, Director? Are you feeling okay? Takano is pretending to be concerned about me, but she knows. She knows I'm still hesitating. And she's telling me that I should be ashamed as a researcher for feeling that way. I shook my head to clear it of sleepiness. Remember the resolve that brought me here to this day. I already have blood on my hands, but if I stop now, their lives will be wasted. Those who shed their blood can only rest in peace once they've become the cornerstones of great research. You should be ashamed for doing lobotomies illegally. His morals make no sense. My guy. He's being corrupted by Takano. I shook my head once more and reminded myself that I'm a researcher. No, I was just thinking. Takano-san, please make some arrangements with Tokyo, and let me know when it's done. Okay, understood. This is really exciting. The least I can do is my best, so his life won't be wasted. If he bleeds, I can't waste even a drop of his blood. After scolding my staff for their indiscretion of discussing the dissection with such excitement, I returned to my office. You know, I think I got a YouTube comment, though, saying that lobotomies were made illegal, like, after 1980s or something? I did not cross-check the reference, but if it's true, maybe it's not illegal. Still questionable, though, for sure. Alright, my voice is starting to hurt a little bit, so we're gonna stop Higurashi here, but I will be drawing.